Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the FUNimation dub of episode 47 of Dragonball Super. We begin this episode in future Trunks' timeline, where he's trying to evade a shadowy figure who's going around attacking everything in sight, similar to what the androids did back in DBZ. Eric Vale voices future Trunks here, like he did in Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Z Kai. But future Trunks notably has blue hair this time around, rather than the lavender hair he had in DBZ and DBZ Kai. Eventually, future Trunks arrives in a secret lab where future Bulma is working on some fuel for the time machine. She's only managed to make enough fuel to last a one-way trip to the past, but she's confident that there'll be a way to return to this timeline once they find the help they're looking for in the past. Suddenly, the shadowy figure attacks the lab, and future Bulma meets her end, but future Trunks manages to escape, and he still has the time machine fuel with him, and he wants to make sure that his mother's death wasn't in vain. We then cut to the main timeline, where we see Goku's farming has led to a lettuce patch, and he's invited Piccolo over because he wants to do some training with Piccolo. More specifically, a competition to see who can harvest the most lettuce. And Goku actually says he was inspired by the training that Master Roshi gave him and Krillin in classic Dragon Ball, particularly right before the first tournament that Goku and Krillin took part in. A lot of their training was kind of like chores and labor, and Goku even describes it as training in disguise. Although Piccolo grumbles about it, he ends up going along with it. Goten wants to take part in the training too, but Chi-Chi insists that Goten needs to study like Gohan. So we see them begin the competition, but eventually Krillin arrives, and he says he's surprised to see Goku is here and not on Beerus' planet training like Vegeta, because he heard from Bulma that Vegeta went to train under Whis on Beerus' planet again. So Goku uses instant transmission to reach Beerus' planet by locking onto Vegeta's energy signature. And Chi-Chi is upset about this, so she makes Krillin take Goku's place in the harvesting, since she blames Krillin for Goku leaving. And when Goku arrives, Beerus demands food as payment to allow Goku to continue training under Whis with Vegeta. And Goku happens to still have lettuce on hand, so he gives Beerus the lettuce. And the Destroyer of Universe 7 likes lettuce, but he downplays how much he enjoys it. So then we cut back to the alternate timeline, and future Trunks arrives at some building where he reunites with future Mai. Like the Mai of the main timeline, this Mai is voiced by Colleen Clinkenbeard, who, if memory serves me right, I believe Colleen Clinkenbeard first took over the role of Mai in the Budokai Tenkaichi video games. Now, future Mai is physically the same age as future Trunks, so this indicates that the Pilaf trio from future Trunks' timeline made the wish that accidentally turned them back into infants, much like what happened to the Pilaf trio of the main timeline, and that's why they're kids by the time Dragon Ball Super rolls around. Well, physically kids, but you get the idea. And future Trunks tells future Mai about how his mother has met her end, and we hear him refer to the villain who caused Bulma, or future Bulma, to breathe her last breath. He refers to the villain as Black. Now, we're back in the main timeline on Beerus' planet, where the four characters present on the planet take a break to eat some ramen. While they're making conversation during their meal, Beerus and Whis mentioned that Grand Zeno the Omni King isn't a fighter, but he still is the most powerful being in existence. And he can easily erase a universe just like that. In fact, Whis mentions that there used to be a total of 18 universes, not 12. Universes 13 through 18 were erased by the Omni King at some point in the past. Whis also makes a point to mention that it doesn't take a lot to anger Zeno. Even what he perceives to be as a slight can anger Zeno. And that's why all the other gods fear the Omni King. So back in Future Trunks' timeline, Future Mai and him are eating what little food they were able to gather, and once they finish, they prepare to head off to Capsule Corporation, which is where the time machine is located. But when they arrive at Capsule Corporation, Black finds them and he attacks. And in the end, it looks like that Future Mai has been slayed by Black, just as Future Bulma earlier, and Future Trunks is furious about this. But then, for the audience, Black's face is finally revealed, and his true identity, it's Goku. And yes, he is voiced by Sean Schemmel, like the Goku we know. And the episode ends with Black saying that he's looking forward to seeing Future Trunks die. So there you go. This is the first episode of the 4th saga of Dragon Ball Super. Officially, it's known as the Future Trunks Saga, but many fans also name it after the main villain of this saga, who was revealed at the end of this episode to be an evil Goku. At least, the fact that Sean Schemmel is voicing him suggests that Black is Goku, or at least a variation of Goku in some capacity. Not like Turles, who was the main villain of the 3rd Dragon Ball Z movie, Tree of Might. Turles was just an identical stranger. And, this is an important detail I should mention. Now, it's true in the sub version, Masako Nozawa, Goku's sub voice artist, also voices she voices the other Goku lookalikes and Gohan, because Gohan doesn't really look like Goku, but still his family member, but his oldest son, but you get the idea. Now, I bring that up because Funimation makes a point to give the Goku lookalikes different voices from Goku. So, to give you some examples, Bardock, Goku's father, is actually voiced by Sony Straight, who also voices Krillin. Turles is voiced by Chris Patton. And even when we're talking about the kid versions, Kara Edwards voices Kid Goten rather than any of Kid Goku or Young Gohan's voice artists. At least before DBZ Kai, it was Stephanie Donnelly, while starting with DBZ Kai to the present day, Colleen Klinkenbeard has taken over as Kid Goku and Young Gohan. And actually, now that I think about it, Kid Goku did have a couple of other voice artists after Funimation started dubbing the franchise in-house, but before Stephanie Donnelly took over, but I digress. That's a story for another time. So, the reason behind that, from what I found out, Chris Sabat, he's Vegeta, Piccolo, Yamcha, Shenron, and many other characters voiced in the Funimation dub, but he's also the voice director for most entries of the franchise that Funimation has dubbed anyway. He mentioned once that they didn't want to dilute the main character's voice, so that's why Sean Schemmel doesn't really voice many other characters in the franchise besides Goku. King Kai and Nail are really the only other major characters that Sean Schemmel has voiced besides Goku, so the fact that Black is voiced by Sean Schemmel, that indicates that he is Goku in some way. Now, if you have watched the sub version, if you played the video games, or if you just read up on what happens in the episodes that haven't aired in the Funimation dub yet, then you know the whole deal with Black. But for those of you who don't, yeah, that's kind of a hint that he is Goku in some way. As for the exact reason, you'll have to be patient and wait, because I won't give it away for anyone who is just following along with the Funimation dub. Oh, and while I'm at it, yeah, Black's voice here is different than it was in the video games, even though Sean Schemmel still voiced him. Because in the video games, Black had a low growl voice, whereas here, it's different. I mean, he still sounds mostly like Goku, but yeah, maybe a little more serious or maybe a little more menacing. But yeah, it's a different voice, and it's like, that's what was said. Sean Schemmel and Chris Sabat had both stressed to fans that Black's voice here would sound different than it did in the video games. A lot of people seem doubtful about it. Well, there you go. They told you so. And the reason why he had that low growl in the video games, that's because they had no context for the character at the time. And I know there are some people that are saying, oh, that's a lame excuse. Why didn't they just pull up a clip on YouTube? But from what I was able to gather, when they recorded the lines for Black earlier on when they were developing Xenoverse 2, from what I understand, either the sub version of this episode had just aired, or it was even before the sub version of this episode aired. But the bottom line was there really wasn't any clips for them to pull up to look at or listen. And even then, even if there was, it wouldn't have been enough to properly gauge what the character is like. And it's also worth mentioning, Toei Animation refused to really tell them anything about the character. All they'd tell him was, he's evil Goku. Because Toei Animation was concerned about the big reveal about who the character really is. They were afraid of that information being leaked earlier on, so that's why they were very hesitant to tell them anything other than he's evil Goku. So keeping that in mind, it's understandable why he had that low growl voice earlier on. And there's hints that there might be another voice. I don't want to go too much into detail because I don't want to give too much away for anyone who's just following along with the Funimation dub and didn't look at the spoilers. But let's say there's a possibility that Black might have a different voice at some point. It was hinted at, and to be fair, like, here's a little hint. Like, even with the Goku we know, Sean Schemmel changes his voice for Goku depending on which form Goku is in, whether it's his normal form or the various Super Saiyan forms. It's more obvious in Super Saiyan 3 and Super Saiyan 4, but he does change his voice for Goku's various forms. So that's a little hint. We'll have to see if they go through with that or not in the future, but we'll leave it at that for now. But yeah, Black's voice here is a good example of why you shouldn't jump to conclusions and why you should be patient and see how things unfold. And yeah, this is what happened here. This is a reason why video game performances aren't the best frame of reference to judge a performance. But hopefully a lot of people learned a lesson from this, but maybe some people won't learn anything from this. Who knows? Everyone is different. But otherwise, yeah. The other big thing is, I know a lot of people wonder, why is future Trunks' hair blue instead of lavender? The best guess my guess is that it was done to make his hair match Bulma's hair, because in Dragonball Super, Bulma has blue hair. And I mean, in DBZ and classic DB, I'd say it was more like maybe a greenish blue or turquoise maybe, but it's more obviously blue here. Now, even with that said, it doesn't explain why the main timeline Trunks still has his lavender hair. uh, what's my what's my response to this? This is one of those situations where just don't question it, just watch the show. That's my best advice for anyone. But there you go. Overall, I did enjoy this episode. It was a really great start to it. A lot of intense moments, but they did have some breather moments here, and we got to hear a little bit more about the Omni King. And I have to say, that big reveal about Black's identity, or at least what he looks like physically anyway, that was quite a nice surprise. Many of my relatives watching were floored when they saw whose face Black had. And that's going to be the big mystery. Who or what exactly is Black, and how did he come to exist? And like I said, I'm going to be courteous. I'm not going to give that away here. We're going to watch the Funimation dubbed episodes as they're released, and eventually it'll be revealed in time. So again, if you've already know the big reveal with that mystery, please don't give it away for anyone who wants to experience it through watching the Funimation dub. That's my big request. But there you go. This was a pretty intense episode with some nice lighthearted moments to kind of keep things from getting too heavy. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of the future Trunks saga. Take care, and until next time.